Hi everybody, and welcome to this fly tying tutorial. I appreciate you viewing this, and I'm going to jump right into this. Versus tying a specific pattern, today I chose to discuss one of the common materials of the fly tying game, and that's fly tying beads. Fly tying beads are something that I believe a lot of advanced tyers take for granted simply because they may already have an understanding of them. But for a beginning fly tyer, they can be quite involved, and there can be a lot to the entire process of how and when to use fly tying beads. So for starters, let me first mention that most beads are made out of either a metal or a plastic. The ones on your left, the green and the silver, are made out of plastic versus the two on the right, the black nickel and the gold. These are made out of a metal. So you first have to ask yourself, are you looking to use the bead as an attractor for a body type or to allow the fly to get to the bottom? If you are choosing it more of an attractor, but you want the fly to be riding higher in the water column, you'll want to use a brightly colored plastic bead, kind of like these silver ones. These are made out of plastic. They will pretty much float. They won't necessarily float your fly, but they will not be adding much weight to the fly, and they're mainly just used as an attractor to put a lot of color at the front, or to represent something related to the natural insect. These green plastic beads, they kind of represent the same aspect in fly tying. Most commonly, I'll see these beads called caddis beads, and they'll be used to kind of be stacked upon one another for the body. By tying them with this plastic, they don't add a lot of weight, but they almost produce more of a natural segmentation. So neither one of these two beads are going to get the fly down to the bottom, but they do have their own place in fly tying, again, more of an attractor or to tie something specific related to that insect. The two sets of beads that you see on the right, these are more of the metal beads. These are meant to get the fly down to the bottom as quickly as possible, though both of them do have, we'll say, different sink rates. The top bead is actually a tungsten fly tying bead. It's a 5/64 or a 2 millimeter bead. That size is good, around size 16 for a fly. But the ones at the top are made out of tungsten, which sinks a lot faster than these the black nickel ones, which are actually made out of brass. Now, whenever you decide which one you want, if you're saying, hey, I want the fly on the bottom, if tungsten gets it down there faster, you're going to want to use tungsten. The brass will get your fly down to the bottom. You will not have an issue with that. However, tungsten does it much quicker. It does cost a little bit more to produce tungsten beads. Thus, whenever you go to buy these beads, they are much more expensive to buy the tungsten versus the brass. And then typically the brass and the tungsten both will be more expensive than the plastic beads, which are just cheaper to produce. Again, the plastic beads do have their place in fly tying, and I do use plastic beads on a number of emergers and whenever I'm trying to add a little bit of flash to a fly that will ride higher in the water column. But whenever I'm tying the common bead heads like a pheasant tail, the hare's ear, the prince nymphs, I will typically go to the tungsten fly tying beads. Now these colors right here, this is the black nickel color for a brass bead. This is the gold color for tungsten. All the tungsten and brass beads come in a variety of colors and sizes, so you can really just fine tune it to your needs. This gold color or the copper color, those are just two really common ones because they add a little bit of shine to the pattern, and they also do sink it really quickly. The other thing to remember whenever tying with a metal fly tying bead is that it will kind of give your hook almost a jig type action because you're placing it so far up on the front of the hook by the eye. What I next want to do, I'm gonna stop this, kind of reset everything, and I'm gonna drop each one of these into a glass of water just so you can get an idea of exactly what happens and how one will drop a lot quicker than another whenever you're putting it into kind of a water situation. So let me get everything reset and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, this isn't very scientific by any means, but I do want to drop each of these 4 beads in the water to show you exactly what will happen as they really go down into this water column, aka glass of water. First, here is the silver bead. This is the plastic one. When I drop it in, you can see it plopped and then it floated on top. Next is the green caddis bead. So this is the smaller green caddis bead. I'll drop this in. And it did have a nice sink rate to it. So that one is meant to definitely go down into the water column, not at the fastest pace. Speaking of, then the next one will be the brass fly tying bead. So this is the brass one in black nickel color. And you'll notice this one will go much quicker. And then finally, we have the tungsten. This one will go the fastest of the 4. So again, this is the gold-colored tungsten fly tying bead. So again, I'll do those 4 one more time just so you can see them. Here's the silver. Plop, it's floating on top. Here's the green, a little bit faster. Next is the brass. And then finally, the tungsten bead. That one went really quick. I don't even think I saw it that time. All right, so I just want to give you an idea of what these 4 look like as they dropped into the water. Again, not very scientific. I can already imagine what some of my buddies are going to be saying whenever they see this video. All right, finally, I will show you exactly how to place the fly tying bead onto a hook. Okay, now that we're finished waterboarding these poor fly tying beads, let me just go over a couple more aspects of them and then I'll finish up this video. The next piece of it is actually placing the bead onto your hook. Whenever you look at these beads, you'll notice that there's one end that on one side of the bead in terms of the hole seems a little bit smaller than the other side. And that's true of the majority of metal beads. Whenever one side is smaller, that's kind of a benefit for you because the other side's kind of counter-drilled. What this will allow you to do is if you place the side with the small hole through the hook point first, this piece will go the whole way up and the small hole will hit against the hook eye. Thus, it won't be going over the hook eye and you won't have to worry about anything going on. The reason that the back side of it is drilled out a little bit larger is to allow it to turn easily as this bead goes around the hook shank. Next is the actual hook, and I do want to mention that. Here's a hook that I'm pulling out right now, and it already has a barb on it. There are some hooks out there that are barbless, and they're a lot nicer for a variety of reasons. But the easiest is whenever you're tying with beads, you don't have to worry about debarbing them because most of these beads will not go over that barb. Without a doubt, the most common method that I see tyers using is either using a pair of pliers or a pair of pliers that look similar to this, whereas the jaws are completely smooth and flat. You don't necessarily want any ridges inside there because it might be tougher to pinch down the barb. And then the second thing I see the majority of tyers, including myself, do is use the jaws of the vise by simply placing the hook point in between those jaws and then squeezing the jaws shut on the barb. And in fact, I'll show you right now just with these ones. I'll see if I can do this for the camera. I'm just going to place them directly over the barb and pinch down, thereby debarbing the hook. Once I have it debarbed, I typically use my fingers and I just make sure the bead's on a flat surface, more of a harder surface, and I push down on it, then it will slide to that point, then I can push it around and I'll bring it the whole way up to the eye of the hook. So I won't really pick up the bead in my hand. I'll again just make sure that bead is on a flat surface, on a harder surface. I'll take the point of the fly, attempt to insert it, I'm having problems now, into that small end. It's tough to do this now with this little piece of plastic here, and that's okay. And then once I have it through that small end, I'll push down. It will, in a sense, almost jump onto the hook. Then I turn the hook, and I'll push that around, again, up to the hook eye. Some other guys will use tweezers. Here's an easy set, right? So you can simply pick up the bead and then insert the hook into it. There's another set of tweezers that I had that I've come across over the years, and these are nice because you can simply just lock a bead onto them, and then you can let go and you don't have to worry about them because there's always pressure being applied to the beads. So this will wrap up my my little bead head presentation. I don't think I've lost too many beads in my room tonight, but we'll see what happens with it as these ones all come flying off this hook. I better leave at least one here for the sake of this video. So I'll lock this one on, I'll get it back into a good position, and then I will thank all of you for watching this fly tying tutorial. So there is a look at the bead on the hook, getting ready to tie something on it. I'm not sure when I put on this, probably something with a little hot spot, just for fun. Well, again, thank you for watching this fly tying tutorial. This was all related to beads and their use and a couple little tidbits about them, how to place them onto a hook, and then I also showed you exactly what will happen whenever they hit the water. So again, thanks for watching this fly tying tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them directly on this YouTube page, or you can email me at tcammisa@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody.